This episode was sponsored by Property, the leading real estate agent for all real estate transactions with a comprehensive ecosystem. They combine highly trained experts with the latest technologies on an intelligent platform to provide clients, brokers, and service partners with risk-free, flexible, and simplified services. Learn more at property.com. That's property with an I.com.
There were a few features that you wanted to develop at that time, which were, I'm going to name them, instant buy, daily recurring saving plans, advanced referral and affiliate system, a Bitcoin debit card, a premium account with partner offerings, and a deposit fiat currency. So, fast forward.
Really hurts to listen to because...
Which one of these have you developed?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming. None of them, I think.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Merle.
Welcome to another episode of the Swisspreneur podcast. Today I'm sitting here with somebody that has been with us before, which is Julian from Relai. First of all, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So it's been 4 years since you've been here, and I had to check as well when it was. Your episode was released, the first episode, on December 6th, 2021.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is a long time. It was episode number 207, and yesterday we released 493.
Wow.
So there was quite some time in between, and I'm super excited to have you and talk about what happened in the last years. But I'm sure there are some listeners that have not listened to the episode in 2021. So maybe before we start to talk about the growth that you had over the last year, maybe we can do a quick recap and you can explain to us what Relai, your startup, actually does.
Sure. So we founded it actually in summer 2020, or that's when we went live, and really with the vision that Bitcoin is the best savings technology out there. It's digital gold and everyone should have easy access to it. So our mission was really to make it simple for the 90% of the people that do not have Bitcoin yet, maybe because they didn't really think about it yet, because they don't understand it, because they're afraid of it, whatever. We just wanted to make it super simple for everyone, even, my grandma, to be able to, with a few clicks on the phone, buy Bitcoin and store it safely, in a Swiss-made and regulated way yourself. So self-custodial, really without any counterparty risk, so nothing can happen. And just Bitcoin only, no complications, no other assets, no other coins, just simple. We wanted to make Bitcoin simple. And the tool to do this was an app, a mobile app. Now we also have a web app. Back then we just started with a mobile app that you can download, and within a few clicks, a few minutes, you're onboarded. You can buy your first Bitcoin, store it safely yourself, and basically also set up a savings plan. So every week or every month, automatically you can save some Bitcoin and hopefully amass a good stack that will help you transport the value that you're creating to the future, which is hard with fiat money because it devalues over time. Bitcoin gets more value over time. So yeah, basically that's what we do. Mobile app. We make Bitcoin super simple, Swiss made, and we're now expanding to Europe.
That's pretty cool. You just mentioned fiat money. Can you do a quick explanation of what fiat money is?
Yeah, fiat doesn't have to do with the car. It's basically national currencies that we all know. Swiss francs, euro, US dollar, they're all fiat currency. And interestingly, the definition of fiat currency is basically it's a currency that is backed by nothing. Which often is the criticism for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is not backed by anything, but Bitcoin is actually backed by math and a very secure proof of work network. So it's the most secure software network on the internet. Whereas fiat money is just national currency that can be printed and is being printed by central banks. And we do attribute value to it because we believe in it. We trust the government, and we need to, because everything is priced and we need to pay our taxes and our bills in the fiat currency in the country that we happen to be. But yeah, Bitcoin is basically then an alternative to that, which is a global independent currency that lives on the internet, and this backed by this very strong math-based network that I find quite compelling.
Thank you for the explanation. I was also researching that when I prepped for this call, and I was wondering something. Where did your love for Bitcoin actually come from?
I don't know if I'm in love with Bitcoin, because but I'm I'm very convinced. My journey started 10 years ago, where in 2015. Back then, one Bitcoin was worth $500. I was introduced to it by a good friend of mine who was a tech guy. So he was studying computer science and IT, and, he's a nerd, right? And so I found myself at his place playing video games or something. And I was the opposite. I was not a tech guy at all. So I didn't come from it from a tech perspective. He showed some cryptocurrencies, of course, Bitcoin as well, to me. And there were these shiny things with logos that you can trade back and forth. They have a price, and it's quite interesting. He explained to me how the blockchain works and how wallets work, and private key and public key. And this is kind of independent from banks and governments, and you can trade it 24/7 over the internet. You can buy drugs on the darknet with it, and etc. So he showed me all these things, and there's proof of work. There's these algorithms that mining and all that kind of stuff. He was very fascinated about the technology. I was very fascinated because I was studying psychology, but also business administration back then. And from a business perspective, finance perspective, I was interested in stock markets and assets, etc. And I figured this is a kind of a digital alternative to what? To money, or to currency, or to commodities. Looks like kind of digital gold or silver or whatever. Could be a stock, could be a bond, could be some like digital real estate. So it's some kind of asset, but you can't really compare it to any of these traditional assets that we know. But it's some kind of asset that is independent from banks and governments, and it's neutral, it's independent, it's global. You can trade it 24/7, send it to wherever you want. You can send it now to someone in Senegal in a few seconds for a few cents. You cannot do this with anything else. It's this internet-based, independent, decentralized, censorship-resistant, neutral kind of money or asset, that was fascinating to me. I was like, there must be a lot more coming, because in 2015, maybe in Switzerland, there were like 100 or 200 people interested in that. It was so early. And now, of course, the rest is history, kind of how it really penetrated the whole world and is challenging the whole financial system and the whole society and the whole economy that we know in only 10 years. So it's amazing where it got to. And I kind of had it just sparked my interest. I kind of had the intuition that there must be much more than this kind of, small thing on the internet, this magic internet money that everyone laughs at or no one even knows about. I was thinking there must be much more. And so I dug deeper and deeper, and there was this kind of, love, or how you want to call it. And I couldn't really stop thinking about it, researching about it, and tried to learn everything that there was about it. There was not much content or podcasts or articles back then, but there was certainly some sources, especially English and US based back then. And then 2017, I also traveled to the US, and because there was this boom, this ICO hype, where Bitcoin also went from 1K to 20K. That's where I was kind of close to Silicon Valley, attended a lot of meetups and conferences about this topic, and I felt this frenzy. I was just super, I was starting to become really passionate and excited about it. And then, step by step, then also kind of grew into a professional commitment for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's super interesting. And if you want to know how then this all came into place, you should definitely check out the first episode, of course. And today, one of the reasons why we're having this chat, of course, we want to know how you developed and where you are today. But also, just recently, Relai has raised a Series A round of $12 million. And Well, first of all, are you still riding the high? Are you good?
I'm good, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of ups and downs in the last
Sure.
5 years. So, yeah, the longer you do this, kind of you have your emotions more in check, I guess, and learn how to deal with it, the highs and the lows. But yeah, definitely this Series A was, of course, a huge milestone for us.
Yeah.
But basically, how I think about closing rounds is when you close, it's not an achievement, it's the start of kind of the next chapter.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt like. It's like, we actually had yesterday at this event, we had the conversation because someone raised a round and then someone suggested to have a glass of champagne, to celebrate. And then someone suggested, maybe it was me, suggested that it's less like champagne, it's more like cocaine. Because basically when you raise money, that's the energy you need to turn into something. It's not like a reason to necessarily celebrate and lay back, but it's like, okay, next gear. Now
you need to deliver.
Oh yeah. Now the pressure is even higher and you need more energy. It's not like a reason to celebrate. Of course, we should always celebrate. Yes. And it was great. And there was some sort of a high, yes, but now it's really, after every round, it gets more complicated as well. And the pressure is higher and the team grows bigger and the ambitions and the goals are bigger.
Yeah.
And just new challenges, which is super exciting. So yeah, definitely some sort of a high. That's kind of how I can describe it, but also really working on, keeping my emotions in check and be rational about things. I think it's very important because it's a long run. It's a long game, right? It's a marathon. It's thinking in decades to build a unicorn and it's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Yeah. And can you put us into a context? So how much money had you raised before?
Yeah, in total now it's around 20 million. So this 12 million round is definitely the biggest one. Before, first round, if you can even call it a round, was 20K from 2 angel investors. That's how we got started because basically Adam and myself, the co-founders, we were both broke. And then this got us off the ground. We could release an MVP with it. And then we raised 300K from angel investors. And then we raised 2.5 million in 21 in March 21. So I think then December we talked about this round. Red Alpine came in, so basically VC led round, and then we did a crowd equity round, which is convertible, that then together was converted with another 2.5 million rounds. So it was basically in total a 4.5 million round. And now I'm not sure if this all adds up to, because I think there was a bridge round as well of 2 million. It's kind of post-seed or pre-Series A, how do you want to call it? And then this 12 million, which kind of again converted, because the bridge was also convertible, converted everything. So now we're clean, but it was a big mess until now in terms of funding rounds. Now we're all clean. So this 12 million is definitely the biggest one. And before kind of with smaller and bigger rounds here and there, we collect another 8 million. So roughly 20 million.
And can you share with us how you basically decided on how much equity to give away and how that developed over the years?
It's not a straightforward process at all, which is what I have learned as well. I mean, it depends a lot on the macroeconomic environment as well. So between 2020 and maybe even before, a few years before 2020, and then until probably 22, when really COVID and also the wars, etc., really changed the game. But before, it was really rather easy to get big amounts of money for great founder-friendly conditions. So before it was, you could raise a lot and you can get away with low dilution, so you had to give away less. So there were great companies that could negotiate like 100x multiples, where by the book it would be 10x multiples. But sometimes if you're not in a great position, it can be very few, like 2, 3, 4, 5x multiples only. Talking about revenue multiples, so from revenue to company valuation. So of course, as a founder, you always want to get a high valuation with low amount that you're giving away, so to keep the dilution in check. School book would also say like between 20 and 30% dilution per round is okay. But then in the end, there's no there is no book you can just reference to. It's always about negotiation. So if you have a good ride currently, and you have great KPIs, and you have a great story, and you have a great team and everything, and you get a lot of different investors interested in the round, and it's like even oversubscribed, so you could raise more than you want to, then you have a great negotiation position where you can actually negotiate maybe a higher valuation and lower dilution, which is great, which is what you always want. That was actually the situation we were in this last December for the last round, which was great. And before, for all these other rounds, we were in the other corner. Like we kind of desperately needed money. We were running out of runway. And so we had maybe a few investors concretely interested, but we were not able to kind of play them against each other. And so we were in a bad negotiation position. And that led to sometimes us giving away 30%.
Yeah.
And last round, we gave away maybe 15% or something, which was great. So it really always depends. What I've learned is, there are some heuristics or school book kind of rules, quote unquote, but they're not fixed. It's always about negotiation and what negotiation position you can put yourself in as an entrepreneur and as a company.
Yeah, I think that was an important point. And how many of the investors that you had in the first rounds are still with you today / invested again in the next rounds?
There was one VC that came in very early that already exited through secondary. And then also a few angel investors have already, only very few have exited already because they made a good multiple already. They made good money. And then we have some that kept also following up in rounds. So they did maybe a big ticket in the seed round and then followed up once or twice again. This we also had. And these are now also the let's say the 3 biggest or 4 biggest VCs. They came in and they follow up, or they came in now in the last round with already a commitment that they will follow up also in the next round. That's what you want, right? Yeah. These are the great kind of long-term partners that you want to have on board in your cap table as a startup founder. And then most of the investors in the cap table, they invested once. They still believe in the project. They're still relatively involved, but they never planned to follow up, and they kind of didn't participate in the next round. So we have a bit of everything, which is, I think, very normal and kind of healthy.
And I know yesterday at the Startup Days, you did talk about how to find the right investors. Do you have a tip or a learning on how you kind of know if that's a right person you want to have on your table?
You said it right. It's kind of also about feeling and about a person. It's always, of course, it's great. And we discussed yesterday, it's great to have, for example, Sequoia or some big, Andreessen Horowitz or whatever VC on the cap table. But it's also always about which partner do you have in your cap table, in your board. And then, one person, how many partners at Sequoia, maybe 20, 25. One person might be very different than another. One person might be a great fit and not another. And it's like a marriage. You need to prepare yourself to work with this person in good and bad times very closely for maybe 10 years, maybe more. So it's really crucial to find the right investor. And it's often a human thing. It has a lot to do about chemistry. Would I also like to drink a beer with this person? Can I imagine go really, really bad, do really, really bad times and get through them, have really hard conflicts, have a lot of stress. It's about money. It's about people, there's a lot at stake. Can I imagine to go through situations like that? Also celebrate good times with this person. Do I want to call, and talk about also difficult things or great things with this person? So it's a lot about on this personal level. But on the other side, of course, what you also want is, deep pockets, a VC that can hopefully also support you when things go bad or good in the next round. And so deep pockets come in maybe with a few millions now with the potential to give you tens of millions in the next round. Someone with great experience, like smart money, quote unquote, that can help you scale and develop your company, has great network, can introduce you to follow-on investors as well, that can help you raise growth rounds, scale the company, even go IPO at one point. These are all factors that are very important. But then in the end, how to find is just really a numbers game. You need to talk to a lot of different people, try to already talk to the right ones that kind of are passionate and knowledgeable about what you do. So for example, for us, we are all about Bitcoin. Wouldn't make sense for us to talk about to investors that are, med tech or food tech or legal tech focused, or usually bankers are, not a good fit for us because they're living in a very different world. They usually don't understand Bitcoin, or they don't believe in Bitcoin. So in the end, you need to have people that really are ideally as passionate as you about the case, the industry you're working in, or trying to revolutionize. And so, for example, we do have very specialized, our now lead investor is, in my opinion, the leading Bitcoin only investor in the world. They're based in the US, and they have raised more than 100 million, and they only invest globally in Bitcoin only startups. So not even in crypto startups, not in fintech startups, but in Bitcoin startups. And they have some people around that really, really experienced and knowledgeable about Bitcoin. And they are a very good human or cultural fit. So that's what you're looking for, right?
What's the ratio that you have of international and national or investors?
The second biggest VC is Relai, so they are national. And I would say the majority of the angel investors, we have maybe 25 angel investors, they are also in Switzerland. But then also some in the EU, in the UK, some also other international, some US. But the biggest is US, second biggest is Swiss, and the third biggest is UK. And we have one smaller one from Dubai, and the rest is kind of the long tail, I would say. So it's a good mix. We're anyway a very international company with now around 50 employees, only 8 of them in Switzerland. Very core people in Switzerland. That's why we can still pride ourselves with the Swiss-made thing. So we were born and raised in Switzerland. We still have the core team members in Switzerland, but we have a lot of team members also in other countries, mostly in Europe. But we're really seeing ourselves as a global and remote company.
Which also makes sense for the business that you're running and the product that you have.
Yeah.
This episode was co-produced with Ceph Grove, the go-to program for scale-ups in Switzerland. Are you ready to turn challenges into opportunities? Visit ceph-grove.ch, apply for the program, connect with influential networks, and get expert advice to take your business to the next level.
Before we also talk about the team, I want to go quickly back to something that you said before. You mentioned the valuation, and I want to ask you if you can make us understand how the valuation changed of Relai over the years, and maybe what kind of milestones you also had to justify it.
Yeah, very good question. I think so. The first round was not even, as said, was not even really a round. It was kind of a safe note that we did. It was 20K. There was no valuation, really. The second round, when we actually founded the company and had to think about valuation, the valuation was 1 million. And the next round, which was a proper seed round led by VC, was 11 million. And then we had this kind of, convertibles and crowdfunding, etc. They were roughly, I think, around 30-40 million. And now our last proper round, we were valued at 72 million post-money valuation. How to justify this is usually what we took as kind of a baseline was revenue multiple. So what we would go for was at least a 10x revenue multiple, which is really what VCs often also take as a reference, which is a good place at least to start negotiations, because that's kind of from a school book perspective, that's an early startup that is maybe less than 5-6 years old, that has a very big growth trajectory and scalability aspect potentially, as a big market that is growing, then you can easily justify a 10x revenue multiple. And then if you're a good storyteller, negotiator, you can find a lot of interested VCs that then start negotiating kind of also with each other and really try to get in and maybe offer a better deal. You can even get more. But usually what we would get was pretty much around a 10x multiple. And that was true for this round. The valuation was roughly 10x the revenue. We did in last year.
And you said earlier that at the beginning you were 6 or 8?
The very beginning is basically Adam, and myself.
Yeah.
So the two co-founders plus two co-founding angel investors. So those that each gave 10K so we could get off the ground. So basically on paper 4 co-founders, but really operational co-founders, just the two of us.
Yeah, okay.
And then when we raised these 300K, we started to hire the first people.
Yeah. And now you're around 50.
Yeah.
How did you, because when you look at the growth, it's interesting that the personnel growth is not as intense, I would say. I think 50 people is still big, but of course, I'm sure other companies would have hired much more people at that time. How did you manage this immense fundraising mentally, but also time-wise, while still holding all the operational obligations?
Well, it's really important, I think, to as a CEO or founder or CEO that is also doing investor relations and fundraising, to get yourself in a position and get yourself organized so that you don't work in the company as much and more on the company.
Yeah.
Because if I have these operational obligations like every day and I need to be in all the meetings and make all the decisions, A, I become a bottleneck for the scalability of the company, and B, I cannot take care of these other things, which is, I need to represent the company to the outside and to do stuff like that here, right?
Yeah.
Interviews, podcasts, talk to media, and then fundraising takes, up to 80% of your time as a CEO, because of course everyone wants to talk to CEO. It's very intense. And so it's kind of something that maybe I learned also in my time in the army. I was in the army for more than a year, did the officers kind of career, quote unquote, in Switzerland, if you can call it like that. And there also it's interesting at the age of 20, you get the responsibility for almost 50 people as well. 48 people are in a normal troop, right? So you have 4 sub, let's say chiefs or whatever, and then soldiers, like 40 soldiers, 4 to 6 sub chiefs, and then you are the responsible at the age of 20, right? So you have no idea, right? But you learn a lot by doing. And one thing I've learned is that you can not have an active role in that whole thing, in the whole like mission or exercise, because you need to be the outside guy that can delegate, control, and have the responsibility, and get in when there's an emergency, make sure that everything is working as it should. But you're basically an outsider of it.
Yeah.
And that's the same in business. You need to build this organism that works as scalably as possible, as autonomously as possible, so you can take care of other things. And I think that in our case worked quite well. I really believe in giving ownership and empower people, and I trust people. I try to hire A players on every position where I think they can do this job much better than I ever could. So I give them the room, the autonomy, the budget, and they deal with it. And usually they do a great job. If they don't do a great job, then we need to talk, and then maybe we need to change. And that's what I mean with working on the organization. Yeah. Making sure that everyone is aligned on the vision and mission. Everyone is kind of happy and productive. We have A players at every position. We have the right processes and structures, and give budget and autonomy to those who need to make the decisions, and then observe and help bring the resources. Not only the best people, but also the money and just everything that is needed. And then we let it grow, and hopefully, it grows into the right direction. That's kind of how I see my job, is not kind of being in the trenches and really make the decisions, etc. On the other side, I do, if I have time. Now is a great time. This year I don't have to focus on fundraising. We have enough on the bank account, so I can really go deep on some levels, also again operationally, which is really fun as well, and where kind of I can pragmatically accelerate stuff and help solve problems faster. And I went into support, for example, and helped rebuild the team so that we have achieved much better customer satisfaction now in support. Is really rewarding. And I went to work in as a kind of ad interim team lead for Relay Private and Relay Business, so the big ticket, high net worth individuals and SMEs that take Bitcoin onto their portfolios or balance sheets in high amounts, like millions. So I helped there kind of restructure, build a better team, and release the web app there and stuff like that. It was really fun. And now currently I'm more working on the product, kind of as an ad interim head of product, hiring PMs and building these teams and helping the organization move more flawlessly so we can be faster in shipping, etc., etc. So if I have time, I go deep into some areas of the business, but whenever needed, I can go out completely and it works on its own, which I think is very important.
How long did it take until you were able to work on instead of in the company, like structurally?
Certainly the first, let's say, year, you kind of need to, because we didn't have money. Basically, my co-founder did the coding and I did the rest.
Yeah.
That was the split of responsibilities and work. And then it's kind of, it comes in phases. The more resources you get, the more of a team you can build, and the more specialists you can hire, and the more you can get out. So it's not like from 0 to 1. It's like a very gradual development that's really started when we raised these 300K and had resources to even hire someone. Yeah. And then the more people you hire, I think the more you can and should take a step back as a founder and work more on rather than in the organization.
Yep. I think it's a super interesting process, because I can imagine I love the attitude of saying that you always thought that was your job, to be on the company instead of in the company. And through that, I would imagine you can also have a way bigger picture, because you know how things should work holistically. But I can imagine it's not easy also for people to know when the step is right, or when the time is right to say, okay, now I'm taking this step back and I'm leaving you to it, and I'm trusting you, and I will come in if needed, but now I can focus on other things.
Maybe how to think about it is, at the beginning you basically do everything. So I was never able to code. I still cannot code. So fortunately I had a great CTO with a PhD in computer science and informatics, etc. He could code, he could do all this. But then basically product management, marketing, finance, legal, compliance, admin, just everything else, sales, investor relations, fundraising, everything you do, you can map basically and say, okay, how much money do I have to find specialists? At the beginning, 0. Okay, so I need to do everything myself. So you have these 10 things, you do all of them. So I did the first website, I did social media, I did outreach to VCs, I did, I called the FINMA to ask what kind of license we would need. So I did compliance and so I did everything. And then, okay, once you have resources to hire, let's say 2 or 3 people, you start asking, okay, where do I really need help? Or where can I have the most impact if I bring a specialist? Yep. And then you bring it there. Let's say, okay, I'm really bad in finance and legal compliance, so let's bring in a great CFO who can handle this. If that's really what gives us the best impact, because he will get us the right license and he will make sure we are compliant and he will make sure that money-wise we're all good. If that's the biggest lever you can have, then bring in a great CFO and let him handle this. Then next time you have money, you always ask, okay, what can I give away? Where can I still do a good job? For example, for a long time I could do a good job in social media, because that's kind of something intuitively I can do. But then others like finance and operations and legal compliance, there I needed help fast, because I thought a specialist that is much better there can have a much better impact. It's going to be much more important for our long-term success. And then the more resources you get, the less you actually have to do or should do yourself, because you always find better people at that, right? You should only do the things that you think I can really do better than anyone else that I can find currently or I can afford. So basically, at the moment, I still do leadership. I still do representation, like, talking at conferences, giving interviews and all that kind of stuff. And I do fundraising. Yeah. If you want to summarize, these are the 3 areas where I think I'm still pretty good. I can still add a lot of value. And if I would hire someone, it would probably likely bring less value, right? Yep. Maybe at one point I will think, hey, leadership, I could probably find a CEO that is better in that. And then I step back as CEO and I bring in someone in there. But yeah, for now, I found much better people in all the other areas like product management, etc. I think that's a good way to think of it and to develop the organization.
And your team is now very international, I would say, and I think you just made it to Italy, if I'm correct. What were the choices behind moving to which countries?
So ideally, like the big vision is we want to be a global company. Yeah. That's already important. But we also were always clear we want to start in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. So Swiss made, and this Swiss route is very important. So that's already great, from A to Z. Z is we want to be a global company and be everywhere, and A is really we started in Switzerland. That was already good. And now from Switzerland, okay, how can we move out in the most efficient and effective way? And clearly it was from Switzerland to EU. Mm. We already now can accept passively clients from all EU countries. So if they find out about us organically, we can accept them. But we cannot do active marketing. It's financial market regulation topic. Yep. So for the last 5 years, that's basically what we did. We did a lot of organic growth. We on social media, our employees or our company account, we post a lot about it. We do an own podcast and newsletter. We do video content on YouTube, and we have, all sorts of stuff that we're doing. We bring content out there so people can find out about us through searching, Bitcoin, learning about Bitcoin, and they come through us from Germany, Italy, France, everywhere. Whereas we could not really actively go after them and pay influencers to shill us, for example, or sponsor events there, or do paid advertising on social media platforms targeting some EU country. This we cannot do until now, but we could already do a lot. And now actually more than 80% of our clients are from EU countries through that, because Switzerland is small, right? 8 million, EU 400 million. So, and it's good to also see where the interest and the clients come from. It's mainly Germany and Italy, and then France, Spain, and then all the other countries. So that also showed us, okay, where do we need to probably go next? And then now there's this thing called MiCA, a regulatory framework that combines basically with one license in any EU country. You can get active customer acquisition rights and access, therefore, to the whole EU market, which is basically what we've waited for. 5 years ago, this was not the case to do. You would have needed one license per country for 40 plus countries, right? It's not feasible. Now we have this opportunity which we go for. We have started a company now in France, and we are going for the license there. For more than a year, we're now in this application process. And once we get this license there, this MiCA license, which is very hard to get, of course, but the reward is also very high, because then we can access directly these 400 potential customers. And that's how we went from Switzerland to EU, and then next up could be UK, could be Middle East, and then we will always we now have a Swiss holding company with the Swiss operational company that has the Swiss license and goes after the Swiss market actively. Now we're doing the same with an EU country in Paris, gets the French license, or then the EU license, and we'll go after the EU market. We will do the same for UK, we'll do the same for Middle East, and then hopefully for more countries in the future. It's basically now a copy-paste process that is very time-consuming and very costly, because you need a company, a license, a team, and banking relationships and all that kind of stuff always on site for one jurisdiction.
Okay.
But why we went to Europe is because it's close geographically and culturally, and because there is now this opportunity with one license, you get access to a very big market, 400 million people. It's actually from a people count, it's bigger than the US, right?
Yeah.
From a money perspective, not, but it's still for Bitcoin the third most relevant market, US, then Asia, and then EU. So it's a very important continent. And from Switzerland, we have a very good position with this one license now to do it. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And where are your offices at the moment? So you have one in Switzerland and the others?
Yeah, one in Switzerland and one in Paris.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And when we look back at your podcast in 2021, and when we did our research for that interview, there were a few features that you wanted to develop at that time, which were, I'm going to name them, instant buy, daily recurring saving plans, advanced referral and affiliate systems, Bitcoin debit cards, a premium account with partner offerings, and a deposit fiat currency. So
Wow,
fast
this
forward.
really hurts to listen to, because
And which one of these have you developed?
yeah, I knew this question was coming. None of them, I think. Yeah. So we always have, and that's good and bad. We always have very big dreams, and we're very creative and have a lot of ideas, and we really take customer feedback very seriously.
Yeah.
And then we try to implement, but it's just the bigger you get, the more complicated it becomes to even seemingly easy features to bring them live. And that's something we really struggle with. That's why I really take this product hat very seriously, and I try to do everything I can to bring it in. And we brought great product managers in also to help facilitate and accelerate that. And then you want to build something, and then something else breaks, and then something else comes up, like this Mika license. Oh, great, we want to go for this license. Well, okay, this means like for more than a year now, we are working on this with also a lot of tech resources.
Yep.
And then the older you get, the more refactoring you need to do. So the existing business, which is used by more than 100,000 active users, is still going. And as you mentioned, we're a rather small team, which I think is also important to stay small and lean and scalable, but that also means you need to prioritize really strictly and really always make the decision of, okay, what can I work on now that has the biggest impact? And of course, this license, for example, has a very big impact. So we have to put a lot of resources in doing stuff there, which, is stuff like we had to step up in cybersecurity and reliability and internal monitoring systems and KYC, AML processes and multi-factor authentication, etc., and ISO certifications. And, we get audited on these things, and this always takes so much time. And you build all this stuff. It's a lot that we have built. We basically, are almost banking grade financial company at this point without any positive impact on the user. So all these nice features here that you've listed, we would have loved to go deeper in some of them, but it's just you have all these other things that often you don't even want to do, but you have to, so you can further expand with the very core that we have now, which is, we're a very easy smartphone app where you can buy, sell Bitcoin, and we can set up a savings plan. You have your own wallet. That's the core. We need to make sure this works, and we want to expand this. And then hopefully we kind of know what our users want and what we should build. Yeah, but it's a big challenge to really get there. We did a lot of small improvements, of course. So the app now looks much better than in 2021 when I was here last time. A lot of smaller increments have been done. A lot of things we have also, a lot of these things you try or you evaluate more closely, and then you figure out it doesn't really make sense, or maybe not yet. So for example, the debit card is really something that we talked to Visa, MasterCard, and we were quite advanced in the process of even building and launching it. But then you figure out it's a huge cost to build. It's very complicated to really launch this in Europe and bring it live. Then there's regulatory constraints. If you don't have this license, you can't really market it actively. So how much will the return on investment be? Very, very low, because it's also a different system than in the US, where in the US you have more than 1% of interchange rates that you can earn money from. So you can basically even give out like these points or rewards, cashback, and still earn a certain percentage, where in Europe these interchange rates are very, very tiny. So you can't really earn money. You can't really make the offer attractive with cashback. And so in the end, as a business case, it just doesn't make sense. Yep. You lose time, it costs a lot, you don't make any money with it, and you will very likely not be able to, with this small team we have, to make it a really nice product. So in the end, we said, this is not worth it, right? And then the instant buy as well. We are trying for 5 years now to get an EU bank account so that we can offer instant SEPA transactions, because as a Swiss company with a Swiss bank account, you can't offer this to, let's say, Italian or German clients. And so they need to send money and wait sometimes for 2-3 days and pay too much to send the money to Switzerland. So it sounds easy, just get an EU bank account and offer instant SEPA. So these instant buys 24/7. It's unfortunately not that easy, as long as you don't have a company that is licensed in an EU country, which we're now working on for more than a year. You don't get an EU bank account. Yeah, it's kind of So we are stuck on a lot of stuff, but I think this is also a phase. I hope. Because at the beginning, you're a small team, you start with a blank page and you can just build. Adam and I used to discuss one thing on Monday and he built it until Friday and we released it. It's amazing. I had this idea beginning of November, hey, we should have a referral program. End of November, we had a referral program live. And by end of December, probably, 1,000+ people used it. It's amazing how fast we were when we were just the two of us. And then you're getting a bit bigger and you get more resources, 2-3 more devs, and you're even faster. But then, you get to 20, 30, 40, 50 people and it gets really complicated and it really slows everything down seemingly. And it's now we are figuring out how can we get back to this speed. And I think most of the companies go through these phases where they come out hopefully at the other side with now a much bigger team, with much more resources that are now also well organized. So you can really ship much faster even than the beginning. But you have all this legacy of all these restrictions, requirements, regulatory complications. You now have 50 people talking to each other. It's very inefficient. So there's a lot of stuff from an organization point of view, again, working on the company that we need to fix and figure out. But it's also exciting. So this is a great challenge.
Buying Bitcoin has never been this easy. Thanks to the Relai app, you can buy Bitcoin with a bank transfer or a debit and credit card within a minute. The great thing about Relai is that you are the sole owner of the Bitcoin you buy, as you're always in control of your funds. You can also set up a savings plan to buy Bitcoin automatically every week or month, or buy it fee-free for up to 100 Swiss francs or euros each month. Take control of your future today by downloading the Relai app in your app store of choice and use the code SWISSPRENEUR to enjoy 10% less fees. That's SWISSPRENEUR in all caps. A quick disclaimer, Relai services are exclusively recommended for Swiss and Italian residents.
Maybe also just to name some numbers, talking about this growth, I think you have you said it also, 100,000 users, for over 400,000 app downloads. And
over 500,000 now.
Oh, sorry. Over 500,000 app downloads. See, the research that we did was a month ago. So many things happen in a month. Yeah. Over 500 million invested.
So last year was 450 million. In total is probably closer to 700 million now.
Yeah. So I wonder, and now you mentioned a few things with the team. How has it, besides the fact that, it slows things down and you need to be more efficient, probably you need to have more processes in place so that things can run smoothly. But why, what else is this that maybe makes you a bit cautious when it comes to expanding your team?
Well, I think now, especially with AI and just with a lot of efficiencies that come with becoming more and more of a digital, connected, global society, it's amazing how much one great person can do. Whereas if you hire, let's say, one A player can sometimes really make a huge difference. Whereas if you hire 3, 4, 5 B players, they basically, they don't advance. The opposite is actually the case. They may even slow down the A players. So we are really selective in what we actually go for. So, for example, these features that you mentioned before actually starting to work on something like a debit card, we have, put some time into evaluate and figure out whether it actually makes sense. And fortunately, we have done that. So we had to say, no, we need to deprioritize that so that our great people don't work on this and waste months of their time. So we are very selective in what we work on, what we focus on. If something is not huge value, then we tend not to invest time in it. And then same goes for people. Really be very selective. Just more people alone will definitely slow you down even more and not give you more power. It's really about getting the right people in, great people, and also not too many at the same time. If we just hire 5 devs tomorrow, they will not add value for a long time. They will actually slow down because another 5 devs basically need to do one-on-one onboarding with them for a month. So these other A players will, for a month, not be able to deliver fast and a lot. So I think it's, in our case, especially now that one dev can be so leveraged with AI, that you take some time and really hire one great person at a time. Make sure it is the right person, make sure it's onboarded and productive, and then hire another one and really make sure you also get rid of the B players. So that's also a thing, sometimes you hire two and you have to get rid of, or let go of one because it's just not a good fit, because the performance is not there. So I'm really cautious about having super high quality team. And doesn't necessarily need to be a bigger team, because it adds a lot of complications and inefficiencies if many people too fast are joining the team.
Yeah. And because your team is then remote, I would presume a lot, do you have specific, like rituals or things that you do to still have this team feeling?
Yeah, it's very important. And I think we had this in our DNA from the beginning, because even when Adam and I started working together, pretty soon came COVID, and I was running around a lot and traveling and meeting investors, etc. So we were not really starting, living together or working together in an office for 10 hours every day. We were already at the beginning kind of a remote company. And then we were always also having a broader scope when we hired. So because we think, again, 8 million people in Switzerland, and they're all very expensive, whereas 400 million people in Europe, and you have a bigger talent pool. So why not just, start recruiting almost globally, or at least Europe-wide? And then we would always recruit for passionate people about Bitcoin. We don't really care necessarily what exactly they did before and where they live, etc. But then, of course, there's the question on how you manage this. And it's important, because everyone is remote and basically working from home office or from a co-working space. It's important that you keep them involved and informed, and they have this team spirit and company culture feeling. Because the best thing we do is we have twice a year a Relai summit where we bring everyone together for a week, work hard, play hard, have a very good experience in a nice city. We went to Zurich, of course, at the beginning, and then Lisbon, and then Berlin, and then Vienna, and then Budapest, and then Istanbul, and then Palermo, and then, it's really good. Last time I was in Brussels a month ago or so. So we really bring the whole team together physically twice a year. That's so kind of important and so valuable to keep people, keep the vision, the inspiration, and the commitment together. Yeah. And this one team feeling. And then, of course, we do small things, like in every team of 5 to 8 people, we have daily stand-up. Every morning between 9 and 10, they meet for 15 minutes. They see each other every day, right? Quickly talk about stuff. And then one weekly meeting. This is basically the structure for every team. Daily stand-ups, one weekly. So we see each other regularly, and then we have a bi-weekly full team meeting as well. Half an hour, everyone comes together remotely, and we update, we keep people involved, we let them ask questions, so everyone really feels like part of the team. And there are a few such things. These are maybe the 3 most important ones that I mentioned, but then there are also what we now want to introduce, because we want to focus more on product, is every week on Friday, there's either a product demo or a product release. Where we show what we're working on and celebrate what we just released, right? Really to create this spark and interest and excitement for the whole team of, hey, let's build and ship and release new things that will add value to our customers, right? It's a cultural thing. So with these kind of meetings, you build hopefully this culture and have a positive impact. And of course, you need to also make sure you don't have too many meetings. You're not like a bank where you sit in meetings all day. That's also very important to manage and find the right balance, especially as you grow as a team in a remote setup.
And do you have specific tools or softwares that you use to organize yourselves among the team? Basically,
our organization lives on the whole Google suite. So Google Calendar, Google Meets, Google Docs. Then we use Notion as well to document stuff. Slack to communicate. These are the main things. And now more and more AI tools, of course ChatGPT for intelligence, or Google Gemini. And the devs use stuff like Cursor, etc. But from a collaboration perspective, it's mainly Google, Notion, Slack, I would say.
And where are all your team members based?
So Switzerland, then a lot of them in Germany, Austria, just like the DACH region. Yeah. Some of them in Italy, some of them in France. So really, some of them in Spain, Portugal. So really kind of Switzerland and around kind of the bigger countries, some of them in the Nordics and Eastern European countries as well. And then we have 2 kind of outliers outside of Europe. One is in Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow.
But he will move to Europe soon, he said. And then and then one in Argentina.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We try usually to stick to at least Europe or at least the same time zone, because that's a big benefit. But then sometimes, if you just have someone that is absolutely amazing, exactly what you're looking for, with 15 years of experience in exactly that technology and everything, super senior and very passionate about Bitcoin, and then we can, if you cannot say no, then it's fine if he's in Argentina.
That sounds really good. Sounds like a good team to join. And if we look a little bit more ahead, so now this round you've 12 million raised, you've hopefully EU almost conquered with this new license. What's your 5-year plan for Relai?
It's definitely a lot to do with the further geographic expansion. So once we have the EU, this of course is not a stop. It's basically, okay, what's next? UK, Middle East. In 5 years, we hopefully really cover Switzerland, EU, UK and Middle East. And we're kind of the undisputed leader of our category, of our kind of niche, which is Bitcoin only, super simple, self-custodial. Right, and Swiss made. So basically, there's still no other, which I'm a bit surprised. Right, there's still no other company that really goes all into this subcategory, like this real big crypto market that is growing fast. Coinbase, for example, is now an S&P 500 company. It's one of the 500 biggest companies by market cap and stock market in the US. It's crazy, right? Coinbase is a similar company to us, right? So just crypto brokerage is really going parabolic. Is really growing very fast, and we have a very small sub niche there, which is Bitcoin only. Make it super simple for the 90% of the people that are not into Bitcoin yet, and self custody, so let them really custody their and control their own funds. And I think this might not become a 100 billion plus company like Coinbase, but definitely has potential to become a 1 or 2 billion company in the unicorn. That's what we're working on. So with geographical expansion, then also a customer expansion. So when we started, we basically were mostly used by tiny retail investors that invested $50 to $100 a month into Bitcoin through us. Now we, went from retail customers to affluent, who maybe spend a few thousands per month, to really private clients, so 100K or more per transaction, sometimes millions, and then SMEs, so Relay business clients that take Bitcoin on their balance sheet for a few 100K or also millions sometimes. So we already expanded in terms of customer groups, and we will expand this further. We're now trying to also onboard family offices, bigger institutions, even publicly traded companies. So this is the customer expansion route that will also in 5 years, hopefully we have all these different customer segments and really like bigger amounts as well. And then the third expansion is of course product. So all these things, so maybe now it's a different roadmap. This changes a lot as well, but we want to expand the core offering, the app, what the app can do, features, the web app. We want to roll it out not only to private and business clients, but to all retail clients, so that everyone can smoothly switch from the mobile app to the web app. There's a lot of other features, like for example, you can set up savings plans directly to a hardware wallet. You can view your hardware wallet and your different wallets. You can connect them all to the app and basically have one source of truth for your whole Bitcoin wealth, where you can navigate and track it, etc. You can set up savings plans for your kids or for your travel destination, like for your dreams, whatever savings baskets, there's a lot of things that we want to build, but then basically these three expansion categories is what we want to pursue in the next 5 years.
And something that I saw that I thought was also really cool is that you also inform a lot about Bitcoin, and I just saw this before, you can sign up for a newsletter where you get like I don't know if it's every day, but in a regular modus, you get a newsletter sent that just informs you from step 1 to 13, everything you need to know about Bitcoin. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, there are two things. Like one is, and they're all free. We invest a lot in education because that's where it starts. 90% of Europeans still don't have Bitcoin, and they don't really have a clue about what Bitcoin is. They're afraid. So we can't just go there and say, yeah, you should buy Bitcoin. No, we should educate them, right? And we should offer content so they can get into the topic, because everyone that is that learns about the topic, get interested in it, and then they will have naturally the urge for, okay, I want to buy some. Yeah. Then they land with us. So that's why we provide all this content. And in terms of newsletter, we have one that is completely free that every week comes out and gives you an update on what's happening. Within a 1 or 2 minute read, you have an update on what happened this week in Bitcoin. The US, Trump built the US strategic Bitcoin reserve, and the US now holds 200,000 Bitcoin, right? Cool. This is a lot of people don't know that. Or this publicly traded company, MicroStrategy, bought Bitcoin for $1.5 billion last week. These are things that a lot of people don't know. In the Bitcoin bubble, it's like Bitcoin is so big. Oh, Bitcoin is now worth all the Bitcoin in the world have now a market cap of 2 trillion, which is like 10% of what all the gold in the world is worth, and it's worth more than Amazon as a company, for example. If you make these comparisons, it's like what's happening every week in Bitcoin is crazy, and we want to inform people about it. And then the other newsletter thing is maybe what you referred to is this 21 lessons in 21 days. You can sign up for it. If you don't know anything about Bitcoin, you sign up for it. And then for 21 days, so 3 weeks, you get every day a quick, also maybe 2 to 5 minute read email that explains you some aspect of what Bitcoin is. And hopefully after these 3 weeks, you're informed and you know about Bitcoin. You can talk about it and you can research and get more information yourself and understand Bitcoin more. Usually then people who have understood Bitcoin, they also want to buy some. And of course we can help with that.
Well, thank you so much, Julian, for all this amazing insights. I thought it was super interesting and informative. Also about, company growth and what you learned from it, and some really hands-on tips. And before we finish off, we always, of course, do our rapid fire question round. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and you just answer straight with your gut, basically. So first question, where do you actually get your Bitcoin news?
Twitter, or now X.
Yeah. How far away are we from certain salaries being paid in Bitcoin?
Not far, so it's already possible, and there's some companies that do it. It's a bit of an accounting issue. We, for example, also had employees that asked for it. We have decided against it because it's, from an accounting perspective, still a mess. Yeah. But what we do is we offer 0% fee trading for our employees. So you get your salary and basically you can decide yourself how much you want to put into Bitcoin. It's for free. It's another benefit to working at a Bitcoin startup like Relai.
What's the most valuable lesson that being an entrepreneur has taught you?
Be really mindful of resources that you're responsible for, like human resources, time of people, and of course money, and just deciding where these resources go is super important. And as an entrepreneur with then a growing pool of resources where you have like more than 10 million on a bank account, you have 50 people, you can basically get to decide what they are working on. It's a really big responsibility. It's very important to set the right priorities and make the right decision there.
And last but not least, what's the best thing about the Relai team?
Well, the culture, the combination of really passionate people that all work on the same vision and mission, and that get up in the morning for advancing Bitcoin, which we really believe makes the world a better place, and at the same time very experienced in their domain and very, very ambitious, but not toxic, but really like very positive. That's amazing. I'm very grateful every day to be able to work with this team.
Yeah. I can see it when you talk about it. You're very proud of it. So thank you so much for taking the time and giving us an update of what's happening with Relai. And we're very excited to see what's happening in the next years.
Thank you. See you in 4 years, maybe.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.